morning, children. Today we are going to carry on with our story writing, and we are going to focus on the main part of the story, the problem. So we are going to be needing our plan from Tuesday, and we're also going to be needing our work from yesterday. This is because it is a very good practice to reread what you have written the day before so that you know where you need to carry on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to reread my opening and the build-up from yesterday before I carry on with my problem. There once was an old towering lighthouse that shone as bright as a star. At this lighthouse lived a lonely and miserable man called Mr. Beacon. He spent the long and dark evenings writing love letters to his long-lost love. Far below the lighthouse, the friendly villagers used to gather in a local pub, singing happily. One bitterly cold evening, when the sea was particularly angry, the glorious light stopped working. It was a dark night, and the passing ships could not see the sharp, jagged, and dangerous rocks lurking under the raging waves. So that is my opening. This is my build-up. And now I have to refer to my plan from Tuesday. And I can see that I've wrote three short sentences for my problem. And today I'm going to expand those sentences and expand my ideas into a full paragraph. So let's have a look at those sentences. The lighthouse keeper ran up the stairs and looked for his toolbox. Unfortunately, while I like this adverb, the spanner fell into the sea. Mr. Beacon felt very worried. Okay, so let's think. The lighthouse keeper ran up the stairs and looked for his toolbox. How can I make that idea better? I am going to open my writing with a time conjunction, children. A time conjunction. As soon as Mr. Beacon heard the actually what we have heard. He would have heard the noise of the light when it stopped spinning. And I need to think of an adjective to describe that noise to make my writing interesting. So I reckon it would have been a sudden, jarring noise. So as soon as Mr. Beacon heard the jarring noise of the lighthouse, of the light, not the lighthouse, of the light, suddenly stopping, and I put in my plan, let's go back to my plan, he ran up the stairs, now wrong slide, he ran up the stairs and looked for his toolbox. So as soon as Mr. Beacon heard the jarring noise of the light suddenly stopping, he ran up the stairs. I reckon he didn't just run up the stairs, how about he rushed up the stairs as fast as he could. Or maybe I could even add another adverb and say as fast as he possibly could. See, children, all the time I'm thinking of all the exciting words like changing my verbs, exciting adjectives, adding adverbs. For those of you who know how to do this, we have covered adverbs just to make my writing as exciting as possible. Right, let's think. So he's run up the stairs. What would have happened next? What would he have heard? What would he couldn't see much. So let's write. He could not see anything. He could not see anything. I think that needs to be an exclamation. He could not see anything. Wow, what could he hear? What do you think, children? I reckon that all he could hear was and let's create a picture in the reader's mind. All he could hear was, I'm going to use Lexi's adjective, terrifying sound of the water. So all he could hear was the terrifying sound of the water. What's the water doing? And I'm going to use Matthew's idea here, smacking into the rocks. All he could hear was the terrifying sound of the water smacking into the rocks. So if I close my eyes and I listen to this text being read, I have a picture in my mind. So children, you close your eyes and can you see the picture that I have painted in your mind? As soon as Mr. Beacon heard the jarring noise of the light suddenly stopping, he rushed up the stairs as fast as he possibly could. He could not see anything. All he could hear was the terrifying sound of the water smacking into the rocks. Lovely, you can open your eyes now, children. Again, because I have read my work, I have thought of a better word to use instead of into the rocks, and I'm going to write against the rocks. So it's all about improving our work all the time and thinking about every single word we use. Okay, so it's dark. All he can hear is the terrifying sound of water smacking against the rocks. How can I make it even more exciting? Out of the blue, that's a super way of opening the sentence. He spotted, I'm not going to write he saw, because that's a bit of a boring verb. So I'm going to write he spotted. I'm not just going to say light, but I'm going to use an adjective, bright light. What do you think that bright light might be? Yes, it's a ship of a large ship. Again, I'm using the adjective, an adjective to describe my noun. Leading straight for the rocks. Shall I just write rocks, children? Or do you think I could use an adjective? I'm going to use an adjective. I'm going to use Daniel's adjective, dangerous. Dangerous rocks. So let's read the sentence. Out of the blue, he spotted a bright light of a large ship leading straight for the dangerous rocks. Oh my goodness me. That's not looking good, is it, children? The situation is very serious. So he knew he had to act quickly. What sort of sentence this is, children? What do you think? He knew he had to act quickly. That's an exclamation. Very good. So it needs an exclamation mark. You are right. Brilliant. Let's think. So we know he had to act quickly. So look at my plan, children. All I said is the lighthouse keeper ran up the stairs and looked for his toolbox. So I have used this first part of my sentence to turn it into an almost full paragraph. But I have only described that what Mr. Beacon did when he ran up the stairs, what he could hear and what he could see, in fact. So I know that he looked for his toolbox. Okay, so let's write Mr. Beacon. And now, do you know what? A verb looked is a bit boring, so I am going to write searched, a much better verb, for his toolbox. I don't think that quite summarizes how he would have searched for his toolbox. So I'm going to add an adverb, frantically searched for his. Mr. Beacon frantically searched for his toolbox. And again, children, we have learned how to use adverbs. So if you can think of any adverbs to add to your writing, please do. Okay, so he searched for his toolbox. He found it on shelf. And you know what, children? I haven't used conjunction for a while, have I? I haven't used the conjunction in my sentence, so I'm going to add a complication here. Now I'm going to use the conjunction but. He found it on a shelf, but as he reached for it, the contents of it spilled all over the floor. My goodness. So I've added a complication, I have made my story more exciting, and I have used conjunction but. Very good. Okay, let's think what could happen next. What could happen? Okay, so he's in the dark, all the contents of the toolbox spilled, and what did I plan in my story? Unfortunately, the spanner fell into the sea. So, how am I going to incorporate it into my paragraph? I could use unfortunately. I'm going to say what's worse. I'm going to change that idea. What's worse? The spanner that Mr. Beacon needed to repair the light had fallen over the edge of the lighthouse straight into the sea. What's worse, the spanner that Mr. Beacon needed to repair the lighthouse had fallen over the edge of the lighthouse straight into the sea. That's a good sentence. I have opened it with an interesting phrase. I could have used unfortunately here as well, the adverb unfortunately. I have used conjunction that. Have I got any adjectives? No, I don't. So I'm going to use an adjective to describe the sea, and I'm going to use an adjective raging sea. So what's worse, the spanner that Mr. Beacon needed to repair the light had fallen over the edge of the lighthouse straight into the raging sea. Now I've made my story even more dramatic. Very good. Now, going back to my plan. So the spanner fell into the sea. I have covered that. Mr. Beacon felt very worried. So I need to describe how did Mr. Beacon feel. Okay, so should I just say Mr. Beacon felt very worried? Or let's write Mr. Beacon was worried about the safety ship. Mr. Beacon was, I could yet say very worried, but you know what, children? I have just thought of an even better word to use. I am going to use an adverb, enormously worried about the safety of the ship. That makes my writing even better. Now, I know that we have so far made sure that all our sentences start with capital letters and full stops. I've used adjectives to create expanded noun phrases. I've used conjunctions. I've used conjunction that. I've used conjunction that. But I haven't used any questions. I have used an exclamation, which is good. How about a question, adding a question? Mr. Beacon was enormously worried about the safety of the ship. What question could I have? What will he do? How could he stop the ship from crashing? Two questions. Can you see? What will he do? How could he stop the ship from crashing? So if you are definitely in a blue group, do try to add some questions in your problem, children. Okay, so that is our paragraph, which I have created from my 3 simple sentences that I have written in my plan, children. I was thinking about every single word that I wrote. I had to rehearse every single sentence in my head, and then I would write a sentence, look over it again, and make sure that it is as good as it can be. So I have added exciting adjectives. I have made my verbs more powerful. I have even added some adverbs, and I thought of and added some exclamations and some questions. Children, today you don't have to write your learning intention out again. Remember, if we are writing an extended piece of writing, all you need to do is write today's date in the margin and leave a gap of at least 1 line and then start writing your problem. Okay, again, not rushing your work, but we are thinking about the quality of our work, the quality of our writing, and of course, the quality of our handwriting too. I'm very much looking forward to reading the problem that you are going to create for your story. Bye for now.